Otho Gold here today. You know, I was down at the library this morning, picked up a copy of Maurice Sendak's wonderfully written book, Where the Wild Things Are. And you know what? It made me think about childhood when boys were wild things, completely unconstrained. You know, growing up in a rural area, we could roam through the neighborhood unsupervised for hours at a time. And of course, that presented all kinds of opportunity for mischief, as you could well imagine. But you know, as soon as we got our Daisy BB guns, wow, things changed, because we had power and some dominion over things around us. It was amazing. And we really let the rumpus begin when a group was out and we all had our Daisy BB guns. Yeah! Now, there are things that Otho has learned over time, given his childhood experiences with BB guns and being a wild thing, having a rumpus. So I've kind of aggregated my thoughts into 3 different areas that I'm going to share with you right now. Now, the first thing you want to consider is to be careful sighting in your target. Now, BB guns are designed with the sight so that you look down the barrel like that and you point it towards a paper target or can or bottle. But as kids get a little older, you know, they start looking at other things like birds and animals running around. But anyway, you want to be careful about what you're pointing this gun at, because whatever you're pointing it at, you pull that trigger, you're going to get a BB going that direction. Now, just to tell you how silly this can be if you're not careful, just recently when I was in Northeast Georgia, my son, who's 35 years old, is out on the deck, and there's people all around him sitting in lawn chairs. Well, there are carpenter bees flying around. Buzz, 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 buzz. He's got this gun in his hand, he's cocking it, and he's pointing at carpenter bees flying in the air and shooting it. He's waving that gun around, cocking and shooting, cocking and shooting. And guess what? He moved this thing over one direction and he fired towards someone that had a drink in his hand, and the BB hit that glass that this fellow was holding and shattered. Now, good Lord, can you imagine how that man felt when a BB broke his glass? It was a good single malt scotch, by the way. That made it even worse. But it was dangerous behavior, just waving that gun around. So be careful sighting in your targets, because things can happen that are unanticipated. Now, the second thing we want to be aware of is do not shoot others. Now, guess what? Otho and all of his playmates got into shooting at one another with their BB guns. We had BB gun wars where we were just running around. It was like cowboys and the Indians. Woo! Just cock and shoot, cock and shoot. And when you get hit by a BB, it hurts. Oh, and besides that, when a BB hits you, it's going to embed itself in your skin. We was out in the well house one day with the Harvey boys who lived next door. And the older Harvey boy picked up a BB gun and pointed it at his brother, pulled the trigger, and a BB hit him right above the eye. And it stuck, it embedded itself right there in his eyebrow. Woo! You could just barely see the top of that BB sticking out. Well, I'll tell you what, when they went over to their mother's house, and she was a nurse, thankfully, she was hopping mad. Woo! Lord, she was mad about that. Fortunately, she was just able to squeeze it, pop that thing out. I was talking with another friend just yesterday. He was telling me about experience with a neighbor. He's a bully in the neighborhood. And every time this bully saw him, he pulled out his gun and was shooting him with a BB gun. Now, you can't even walk in your neighborhood because you got a bully shooting at you with a BB gun. That's really something. Whew. So, don't shoot others. And third thing I want you to think about is don't shoot yourself. Don't be putting the gun up to your head or to your body part. Now, I had a friend who he didn't think that his gun was shooting. He kept cocking and shooting, cocking and shooting. He didn't know if a BB was going out or not. So you know what he did? He cocked the gun, put it up next to his hand, and pulled the trigger. And 2 BBs came out and embedded themselves right there in the palm of his hand. Oh, Lord! And so for 2 days, he walked around and let those BBs fester in the palm of his hand. And it got to hurting so bad that he was complaining to his friend out on their front doorstep, the next door neighbor's front doorstep. Well, the next door neighbor just reached down and he started squeezing on that. Of course, you know, it was really hurting. But he popped those BBs out. They came out just about as fast as they went in. And everything was okay. But you know, don't shoot yourself. Good grief. So, that's Otho's lessons learned from a lifetime of being around BB guns. Y'all be careful out there. It's important for, you know, if you got kids and you got little boys, you're going to teach them how to use a BB gun. Make sure they understand all of Otho's rules. It'll help them out a lot and avoid some real tragedy. Y'all be good.